Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're doing something really exciting. We are going to trace the fascinating evolutionary river of ancient Indian philosophy, right from its very source. We're going to journey back thousands of years, but not just to look at dusty old texts. We want to actually uncover the literal heartbeat of human inquiry.
Section 1. Curiosity, the birth of philosophy. You know, we so often think of philosophy as starting with some dense, impossible-to-read book or a rigid institution. But let's look at the very first raindrops of this philosophical river. Raw, innate, totally unfiltered human curiosity.
Who is the creator of this world? I mean, think about it. Long before any formal texts were ever written down, ancient humans stood out under the night sky, looked up at the exact same stars we see, and asked this profound question. It's the exact same thought that keeps so many of us up at night today when we try to figure out our place in the universe.
And they didn't stop at the cosmos, right? They deeply questioned the mechanics of their own day-to-day existence. They asked, what is the relation between karma and its fruits? Basically, action and consequence. They searched for the true nature of supreme power and really wondered how one might actually achieve lasting, genuine peace in a totally chaotic world.
So, the absolutely crucial point here is that Indian philosophy didn't begin as a rigid set of rules handed down from on high. It started as an organic, profoundly human response to our shared existential wonder. It was essentially a grassroots intellectual movement, totally driven by a fundamental need to understand reality, meaning, and our purpose within the whole shebang.
Section 2. Evolution of Vedic literature, from ritual to internal thought. Let's watch how these individual raindrops of curiosity actually gathered and evolved into a highly structured intellectual stream.
Okay, so this was a massive, multi-generational evolution. We start with the Samhitas as the early seedbed of thought. Then, that moves into the Brahmanas, which focus heavily on external physical rituals. But notice the critical turning point here, the Aranyakas. Thinkers started realizing, well, outward action simply isn't enough to answer our deepest existential questions, so they transitioned toward deep internal reflection, and this inward journey finally culminates in the Upanishads, marking the mature, fully realized expression of these profound philosophical ideas.
Section 3. Sat, the foundation of the universe, and the search for ultimate truth. As this conceptual stream flowed forward, it carved out a massive bedrock concept, first identified way back in the ancient verses of the Rig Veda.
That bedrock concept is called Sat. It represents the ultimate truth, the supreme entity that basically holds everything together. And it isn't just some abstract idea. It serves as the absolute foundational building block for the universe and for all the theistic Indian philosophies that would eventually follow. Now, this foundational idea definitely didn't stay static. The ancient, concentrated seed of Sat slowly matured over centuries of intense debate. Eventually, it blossomed into the expansive, totally all-encompassing concept of Brahman, which becomes absolutely central to later Vedantic thought. It's like watching a seed turn into a giant, sprawling tree.
Section 4. Upanishads, the Gangotri of philosophy, the true source point. Eventually, this entire stream of evolving thought pools into a massive, life-giving glacier, functioning as the ultimate intellectual source for practically everything that comes next. They literally call the Upanishads the Gangotri of Indian philosophy, metaphorically named after the glacial source of the river Ganges itself. They represent a vast, incredibly rich collection of independent, experiential wisdom that was compiled by numerous different sages over many, many generations. If we look closely at their true nature, we see the Upanishads are entirely non-sectarian. They aren't tied down to one dogma. They're built on independent thought, capturing the unique experiences of all these different sages, and they celebrate profound philosophical diversity. This era was an age of fierce intellectual freedom. It wasn't about enforcing rules, it was about exploring every possible angle of existence, which is why it had such a broad impact on countless future philosophies.
Section 5. Origin of various philosophies. This is where the river really branches out. From this massive philosophical Gangotri, the sheer volume of ideas was so great that it ended up watering the seeds of many distinct and sometimes fiercely competing systems of thought. Because of the Upanishads' profound diversity, they served as the neutral intellectual bedrock for a massive variety of schools. We're talking about theistic paths like Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Samkhya, Yoga, Mimamsa, and Vedanta. But simultaneously, they provided the intellectual environment that helped shape non-theistic paths too, like Buddhism and Jainism. Every single one of these rigorous systems traces its lineage right back to that exact same era of incredibly open questioning.
Section 6. Major philosophies and commentators navigating the streams of thought. As these distinct rivers flowed through time, they naturally became incredibly complex. So, to make sense of them, great navigators, known as the commentators, emerged to map them all out.
We see some of the most influential pairings in all of intellectual history emerge here. We've got Vatsyayana mapping out Nyaya, Prashastapada detailing Vaisheshika, Vijnana Bhikshu on Samkhya, Shabaraswami breaking down Purva Mimamsa, Vyasa with Yoga, and of course Shankaracharya navigating Vedanta. But what did all these brilliant minds have in common? They continually used the original verses of the Upanishads as their ultimate proof, firmly cementing those early texts as the absolute gold standard of philosophical inquiry.
So, let's bring it all together. In this explainer, we've clearly mapped out the big picture, a continuous, highly evolving flow. We started with a simple, relatable raindrop of human wonder. That led to the search for absolute truth, or Sat. We watched the texts evolve from external rituals to deep internal thought, finally culminating in the Upanishads. And then boom, that exploded into the vast, diverse ecosystem of rigorous philosophies that are still being debated and studied worldwide today.
I want to leave you with this thought as we wrap up. These aren't just ancient, dusty historical musings relegated to old textbooks. Actually, they represent humanity's absolute best attempts to answer the very same existential questions you and I face right now. So, which of these streams resonates with your worldview? The waters of inquiry are right there just waiting for you to dive in and explore. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and remember to keep questioning everything.